Can you hear me okay? I hope so. If you guys can hear me okay, can you just give me a thumbs up or something, just so I know you can hear me okay? We are just getting set up on, thank you, Bhavya. I am just getting set up on YouTube as well. So give me one moment here. I think we're good to go. I'm just gonna wait for a couple more seconds or like a couple more minutes and then we'll start with the presentation. Today we're going to talk about understanding finances. So we'll talk about tuition, everything that comes with tuition, the payments, and then obviously like scholarship aspect of it, and also employment on campus and a bunch of other stuff, orientation, what to prepare before orientation and everything. So while we wait just a couple. Just want to make sure it's setting up correctly on YouTube. So, okay, I think we're good. Yeah, I'm just gonna give it a couple more minutes just in case people are trying to join and like they're having issues with the internet or anything like that. So, uh, I think we also have the Q&A box still open. So if you guys have any questions during the webinar, please go ahead and put that in the Q&A box and I'll answer it. I know we have Pavya and Shalila. Where are you guys watching from? I'm just curious. And then on YouTube, for the people on YouTube, you can also put your questions in the chat box there in case you're not able to join us on YouTube. And then I will answer them as we go. I'm going to be going over a lot of a lot of information today, so I'll try and be um, as concise as possible so it's not confusing. So we'll see how that goes. And all the questions that you leave, I'm going to get to at the end of this session. So, okay. Hi, Dylan. Hi, Sheila. Doda. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Okay. I think we can get started now just because we only have an hour and there's a lot of info to get over. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you guys can't see the screen for some reason, please let me know so I can do something about it. Pavia, I did see your question. SAT is optional for us. Um, However, if you do submit it, you might not need to take your English placement testing if you're not doing TOEFL or IELTS. So, um, yeah, okay. I'm gonna share my screen and do that. Okay. Um, can you guys see my screen okay? Can you let me know? Okay. So we are going to talk about finances. My name is PJ. I'm the Assistant Director for Strategic Communications and Recruitment here at Minnesota State Mankato. Um, I just started in a full-time position fairly recently. I recognize some of the names in the webinar now. Alyssa was here with us last week, and this week it's just going to be me presenting. And I know that I am a fairly new full-time staff. However, I have been a student here at Minnesota State Mankato for both my undergrad and my graduate degree. So I've been here a while and have a lot of personal experience um, attending this university. So if you guys have other questions about student life, things like that, I'm more than happy to answer. So with that, let's get started. So today, the overview, some of the things that we're going to be talking about today is going to be how to plan your budget, how to make payments, health insurance and what that entails, and how much it costs, scholarships and assistantships, especially if you're a graduate student watching this, the assistantship section might be relevant to you. And then working on campus and employment as a whole. So we're going to be covering a lot of things. Um, if you are If I am giving you a lot of information and you're feeling overwhelmed, please also note that a recorded session of the live will be available on our YouTube channel after the session is over. So if you're like, I don't remember what PJ said, I forgot, you can always go to our YouTube channel and find the webinar for today and go to that section, since I am going to be talking about a lot of things today. So, all right. Here is one of the overarching things that you would need to know about how to plan your budget. Obviously, you have a section that's the estimated cost of attendance. So that's going to include your tuition and fees. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the breakdown and what each of those expenses are going to look like. Living expenses, whether you're living on campus or off campus, you will have to budget accordingly. Health insurance, like I said, is going to be a yearly payment that you have to make. And we'll talk about that in just a second here. Books and supplies for any of the classes you're taking. Your professors might ask for a specific textbook that you would have to purchase outside of the tuition and fees, or like supplies, especially if you're taking an art class, you would have to get the supplies as well. So that's where all the bookings and supplies element comes in. And personal expenses, would put that down as expenses for, let's say, having fun, going out with your friends, getting food, and things like that. Costs that are not included in the budget are going to be your SEVIS I-901 fee. That's going to be a $350 fee that you have to pay before you schedule an appointment for your visa. Your visa fee is going to be $185. And the visa fee, the biggest thing about the visa fee is that you will have to pay the visa fee. If you don't get the visa the first time, you will have to pay it when you go for a second visa interview. So that's like an additional cost that I feel like a lot of students don't talk about. We just wanted to add that here so you're aware of all the additional costs that come with trying to secure a visa. And of course, travel expenses. These are not going to be included in your I-20, and there's a reason for that. Travel expenses, so we're talking about your flights, shuttle to Mankato from the airport if you have to stay at a hotel overnight somewhere, and all of the other expenses that come with traveling. So getting food at the airport, if the airport food is not good to your liking and you want to get some other stuff. So these are the costs that are not included in the budget. So always make sure that you're speaking with your sponsor or your parent or your guardian, whoever is going to be sponsoring you, that these are also costs that need to be budgeted for as you prep for studying in the US or at Minnesota State Mankato. So we're going to go over the breakdowns of all of these costs. And again, this is for your ease, and some of these costs can go up and down depending on a lot of things. So let's talk about undergraduate fees and the estimated expenses for undergraduate fees. If you look at the screen right now, you're going to see two different tabs, one that says with the International Maverick Scholarship and one that says without the International Maverick Scholarship. So all of our undergraduate students, all of our new undergraduate international students automatically receive what's called the International Maverick Scholarship. The International Maverick Scholarship is automatically applied again to all of our first year new international students, and that is about 7,000 overall in a year. So if you were to have the scholarship, with the scholarship, you're looking at 11,532. That's just for tuition and fees. So please be aware of that. Without the International Maverick Scholarship, it goes up to 18,812 for tuition. So as you can see, there's about over a 7,000 dollar scholarship that's available for all of our new international students. And this is renewable every year until you graduate, as long as you maintain GPA requirements and you are staying in like a good academic standing. We will talk about scholarship a little bit further down. However, I just wanted to make sure I point that out to you guys. Room and board, we have an estimated, we'll talk about housing as well, but we have 11,260, and this is based on campus room and meal costs. If you choose to live off campus, the cost might look different. So it really depends on what you're planning to do, whether you want to live on campus or you choose to live off campus your first semester. Minnesota State University Mankato does not require first-year students to live on campus, although we have noticed that students who live on campus state that they have had a more positive experience and more involvements on campus. But again, ultimately, it's really up to you and what your budget is and what your sponsor says. And so I would always stay in constant communication with your sponsors to make sure you guys are on the same page in terms of payments, costs, and things like that. So room and board, we've put down 11,260. And then the rest is also estimated. So miscellaneous fees, the books and supplies, we've put down 1,400. And again, it's going to vary greatly depending on your program. It's going to vary greatly, depend greatly on your professor, what textbooks they want you to purchase, what other online stuff they might need you to get as well. And so that's going to vary greatly. Health insurance is something that you're required to pay, and you have to pay for your health insurance before you're even able to register for classes. So this is the biggest cost that I think with 2,640, it's a yearly insurance. This is required. And this is the biggest expense that I would make sure you've set aside before you're able to register for classes, before you that this is the first thing I would pay if you want to pay it in person. This is the first amount I would pay right away, because that way you're able to register for classes right away. And then the personal expenses to 2,314 is going to vary greatly on you and what you want to do on your free time, if you want to go out, have fun. And so again, we're looking at an estimated 29,146 for the entire year. Also keep in mind that the on-campus housing is just for 9 months, because the contract for on-campus housing only goes up for 9 months. If you want to stay here during the summer or during winter time, you have to pay a little bit extra. So that's another thing that you have to pay attention to as you fill out your housing applications and things like that. And again, any questions you have, just leave it in the Q&A card and I'll get to it at the end of the session. Because like I said, I will be going over a lot of information and it might be confusing. And if I'm speaking too fast, let me know and I'll try my best to slow down, because I really want, this is very important information and I really want this to be understandable. Graduate students, I'm not sure if any of you guys are graduate students. But if you are a graduate student, this is what your expenses are going to look like. Undergraduate and graduate expenses look different. So this is the undergraduate expense and this is the graduate expense. So you're looking at nine fall credits, 7,000. So for the entire year, you're looking at 15,218. The room and board on campus, it's the same because it's the same housing. But yes, it does come down to 32,832 for graduate students. Are any of you guys watching graduate students? Can you raise your hand if you are? Because that just means I'll have to spend a little bit more time with the graduate sections, because I don't want that to be confusing, since it is a little bit different from undergraduate. If all of you guys are undergrad, can you raise your hand? Okay, undergrad. Shyla, are you a graduate student? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if sorry for putting you on the spot like that. But yes, if any of you guys, okay, since we have more undergraduate, well, let's focus more on that. Okay, payments wise, once you're here, Thank you for participating, guys. I really appreciate it. It helps me make this process better for you guys. So payments wise, students are billed every semester. We do have students asking if they have to pay for the whole year at once, and that's not how this goes. Students are billed every semester. So every spring and every fall, you're going to be billed separately for those. Now, the biggest thing that you need to know, like I said before, is the health insurance piece. You have to pay the health insurance, the 2,640. Again, this number could change depending on when you guys are going to be here. For spring, this number might change because I don't know if this is the fully updated insurance amount. However, you do have to pay that amount before you're able to register for classes. So this is the biggest amount that you want to make sure that's paid. And once you register for your classes, that's when you're billed for your tuition, and that's going to show up on your e-services, and that's when you can make that payment. Now, in terms of how to make the payments, we do have students ask about bank transfers. So we recommend this third party company called Flywire for that, which is a direct bank transfer. The best thing about Flywire is A, they do include the best exchange rate for the amount that you're sending, and B, they have a $25 flat rate transfer fee. So whether you're sending 10,000 or 2,000, the flat rate $25 is going to stay at 25, which is amazing because I feel like some companies do charge you more the more you're transferring. So if you are going to be going this route of doing a bank transfer from home, I would recommend going into Flywire and looking at their process. Otherwise, I know a lot of you guys had to submit your application fee. So if you submitted an application fee, then obviously you must have used a credit card or something. So another option is to do it online with a credit card. If you choose to pay in person, you have a lot more options, right? So you can either pay with cash, credit card, or debit card, or if you have Apple Pay on your phone, you can even use Apple Pay in person. It's usually easiest in person. So, definitely again, speak with your sponsor and see what route would work best for you. Because otherwise, you also have the automatic monthly payment or the Nelnet fax payment plan. Now, to keep it very simple, what Nelnet is essentially is a payment plan where they break down your tuition into monthly payments. So if you have a $4,000 payment, you can put it down to 4 payments over 4 months. So you're paying 1,000 every month for 4 months. There is a $34 enrollment fee per semester, and then you have to make the payment the fifth day of each month. Another thing with the Nelnet payment plan is you have to apply for it. And the earlier you apply, the longer of a stretch of a payment plan you can get. So you want to make sure that if this is the route you want to go, instead of having to pay one bulk sum, that you sign up for it as soon as possible. And you also remember that there's an enrollment fee and that you have to pay on the fifth day of each month. So this is another thing that you might want to remember. So you don't have to pay the tuition right away, and you don't have to pay the tuition before you come to campus. So if you're worried about that, just know that you will be able to kind of deal with that after you get here. But again, the first thing you need to do is pay your health insurance. Okay. Scholarships. As I mentioned earlier, all new students automatically get the International Maverick Scholarship that's valued at $7,280 over a year. And in order to continue getting this that's crazy. It kicked me out, so that was nice. Um, I think my speakers are working. Okay, that really for some reason. Okay, I think you might be able to hear me now, so that's good. I think. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Um, okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I don't know what happened there. It kicked me out and I don't know. I was so confused because I was speaking and then I couldn't see you guys anymore and I'm like, what the heck? Where am I? Okay. Sorry about that. Let's get back to what we were doing earlier. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. I'm hoping it doesn't. I think you might be able to hear me now, so that's good. I think. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't give us any more issues. Okay, cool. So as I was saying, if you're an new international student, you will automatically get the International Maverick Scholarship. It's renewable every semester until you graduate, as long as you maintain your F1 status. So that's the biggest thing you want to keep in mind, and also making sure that you have a 2.5 term GPA or a 3.0 cumulative GPA throughout your time here. Again, we're in the office if you ever have questions as a student after you're here and you have questions about the scholarship, we're more than happy to answer. Now, as a student, currently enrolled student after you're here, you can still continue to apply for other scholarships, obviously. So we have what's called, so February here at Minnesota State Mankato is scholarship month. So every year in February, you are able to apply for a merit-based scholarship. And this scholarship can range from your major to where you work to involvements you have on campus. There is a wide range of scholarships you can apply for during this time. So after you're here as a student, this is an additional type of scholarship or like additional types of scholarships you can apply for that's going to help you decrease your tuition even further. So always make sure we do advertise it before it's February, so before a scholarship month, and even after when you're a student here, you'll hear people talk about it. So you will know about it. Just just again, keep it in the back of your mind that this is something that's also available to you as a student. Now, on campus and off campus, let's talk about housing really quickly. We are going to be having a housing session in the next couple weeks. If you want to look at our webinar schedule, you'll be able to see when our webinar is for housing. That's when we will go more in depth into types of housing, the costs and things like that. I'm going to be going over it very, very briefly today. However, it's not a bad idea to join us during the housing session because we'll also be bringing other students in, so current students, and they'll talk more about their experiences living on campus or off campus. Personally, as a student here in the past, I've only ever lived off campus. But again, that really depends on you and what you want to do and what your budget is. However, on campus and off campus housing does look a little bit differently.
With off-campus housing, let's talk about off-campus housing really quickly. So the average cost for off-campus housing is about 1,100 a month. That includes your rent, utilities. We're also including food in here and also renter's insurance, depending on where you're living. Off-campus housing is usually a 1-year lease. It's a 1-year contract, and once you sign that contract, you have to stay there within that specified time frame. So before you sign anything, make sure you look at the lease and everything. Depending on what off-campus apartment you're looking at, they're about 1 to 3 kilometers from campus, so it's not very far. And because it's closer to campus, most of them are student housing, so you will most likely be living with or around other students that attend Minnesota State Mankato, which is really nice because then you can network and make more friends. And depending on your budget, you can also either choose to live alone or with roommates. But again, the biggest thing with living off campus is you're going to be responsible for the cooking, cleaning, and everything. So you want to make sure that you are setting aside enough time every week or every day to A, cook, or B, clean the space. Especially if you're living with roommates, you want to make sure you're being respectful of your space. So definitely think about that as well. If you're living off campus and you're worried about, having to walk to campus all the time, you're worried about not having a car and getting Uber every day, we do have a free bus service that goes to a lot of off-campus apartments, and it's free. You just have to show them your student ID card. So if you're worried about having to get a bus and things like that, having to get like Uber or Lyft and things like that, just know that there is a free bus service that's available for you. And then even if you're living off campus, especially if you're someone that doesn't like to cook, you are also able to get the meal plan on campus. So it's not like you have to cook if you don't like cooking. So even if you're living off campus, you're still able to purchase a meal plan on campus. Now, let's talk about on campus really quickly. And again, like I said, we will be having a housing session. So join that for a more in-depth session. I'm just going over really quickly because we have other topics to cover. But if you are going to be living on campus, we're looking at an average cost of $1,300 a month, room and meal included, but this is for 9 months. So summer is not included. So if you want to stay in Mankato over the summer and you live on campus, you would have to either find different living arrangements or you can pay a little bit extra and stay in your dorms. But that would be an additional cost that you need to think about. If you're coming here in the fall, you do have to, it's going to be a 2-semester contract. Usually if you're here in the spring, it's going to be a semester and then you can renew it for another 2 semesters. And that's how it goes. You do have to submit an application on e-services for housing if you plan to live on campus. So definitely look into that as soon as you can. There's a $240 deposit that you would have to put down. And there's a lot of choices when it comes to what kind of community you want to stay in, what type of room, what type of, whether you want to live with, the floors are different. So just make sure you go onto our housing website online and look at all the different types. We have videos on YouTube about that as well. So it's easier for you to kind of compare and see what works best. And they also come in different price ranges. So depending on what your budget is, you can decide on a specific type of community or room. We have about 2,700 residents that live on campus. 4 meal plan options to choose from. And in terms of living spaces, you can either live with 1 roommate to up to 4 roommates. And again, that's going to obviously change how much you're paying. So make sure you go to our website and look at all the different options available, because it's really hard for me to say this is what works best, this is what you should pick. Ultimately, it comes down to you and what you want. And again, like I said, I didn't live on campus, although in hindsight, now that I think back on it, I wish I had, because I think that would have given me a much more different, like a different experience than I had because I lived off campus right away. We've also found, like I said previously in the beginning of the webinar, that students that live on campus do report higher academic success, and also they do report a higher level of involvement on campus. So ultimately up to you. Talk to your parents, your sponsor, your guardian, and decide what works best for you. Okay, student health insurance that we talked about earlier. Student health insurance, F1 and J1 international students are required to purchase health insurance in the US. So there's no, can I just not pay it? Like, you can't come here and then come to my office and say, PJ, actually, can I not pay it? I'm gonna say no, because you have to pay for it. United Healthcare is the Minnesota state insurance provider. And we constantly work with them to make sure that you guys are getting the best rates possible. Student health insurance includes comprehensive medical coverage, and this personally for me has been very, very helpful as a student in the United States because medical bills can get very expensive. And so if I didn't have this health insurance, I would have had to pay a lot of money during times where there were times when I got really sick. And so if I didn't have this health insurance, I would have had to pay so much more money than I did. And so I'm very thankful that this insurance is available. And it might seem like quite a bit of hefty money, but please note that it will, if God forbid, if something happens, then you have this extra blanket of security that you're able to, afford your medical bills. So remember that you have to pay it before you register for classes. And the estimated cost of insurance for 12 months is $26.40. So you will be paying it every year until you graduate. So definitely keep this in mind. I know that there's some questions, I think, and so I will get to the questions at the end of the session, like I said earlier. So let's quickly move on. Okay, graduate students. I don't know, I know most of you guys were undergrads, but just in case, after this goes up on YouTube, we have a graduate student that's watching this. For graduate students, we do have graduate and teaching assistantships available. They are competitive, so you do want to make sure that you apply. You can only apply for assistantships after you're admitted to the university. So please know that, if you are a graduate student and you're looking to attend here and you're looking for those assistantships, that you need to start sooner and you need to apply sooner because they are competitive. When I started my master's degree, thankfully, I was very fortunate enough to get a graduate assistantship right away. So I got my first graduate assistantship was with the admissions office. That's separate from the Carney International Center. And then I started my graduate assistantship in the Carney International Center. And I was here for roughly 2 years. And again, it covers up to 9 credits of tuition waiver per semester. You get up to $10,000 stipend per academic year. And then depending on whether it's part-time or full-time, you work 10 to 20 hours a week. This is very helpful. But again, like I said, you can only apply for assistantships after you've been admitted to the university. And students, regardless of whether you have a GA-ship or not, you still have to show funding. For undergraduate students, yay, I'm sure most of you guys are hoping to find employment on campus when you're here. For undergraduate students, just know that you can only work up to 20 hours per week during the semester, whether it's fall or spring. And during summer and winter breaks, you can work up to 40 hours, so you can work full-time. I find that 20 hours a week is plenty of time because remember that you're here to study, and studying and going to class is going to take up a lot of your time. And it can be very exhausting. So just be mindful of the hours that you're putting in. Again, you can only work up to 20 hours a week. So just be mindful that you're staying within that limit. For graduate students, if you find a job on campus that's not a graduate assistantship, you can work up to 14 years per week year round. And the university starting wage is about $12 an hour. And then you can apply for jobs after you enroll for classes. So after you're registered for classes, you've paid your health insurance and everything, you can start looking for jobs. Handshake is a platform that we use to post employment opportunities on campus, off campus, and internship and things like that as well. So once you're here, you'll get more information on how that works and how you can apply for jobs on campus. But just know that you are able to work up to 20 hours a week if you're an undergraduate student and up to 12 hours a week if you're a graduate student. Off, off-campus employment. Now, you can't just find a job off campus after you're here. You can't just find something and not let us know. So there are a few avenues in terms of if you get an internship opportunity off campus, one route that you can go through is to get the curricular practical training, or a CPT. What this basically means is it's like an internship experience that's related to your program. I had to do an internship when I was an undergraduate student for my minor, actually, because my minor was in aging studies. And so I found an internship that worked with my minor, and I completed the CPT form that was signed and approved by my academic advisor and also somebody in the Carney International Center. And this can be either paid or unpaid, but depending on your program, there might be a requirement that you have to do an internship. And if you have to do an internship, then you have to submit a CPT form. So just keep that in mind, that that's another thing that you can do. OPT, or optional practical training, is work authorization for up to 12 months of employment in the US after you graduate. So this you wouldn't be able to apply for until you're getting closer to graduation, and that's when we will like send out information saying, hey, it's, if you're graduating this semester, like apply for OPT. If you're someone that's going to be in STEM, you will get an additional 24 months as STEM OPT. Now, these are all information that you don't necessarily need to memorize now. The biggest things you need to know is housing, how to find housing, health insurance, registering for classes, getting here for orientation, getting your visa, booking your flights and things like that. Because once you're here on campus, we will continue to push out information on CPT and OPT to you guys. And so that's just something that I want to make sure that you don't have to memorize all of this. Alrighty, International Student Orientation. Our spring 2025 orientation is going to happen January 6th through the 10th, 2025. You have to plan to arrive in Mankato by January 5th, 2025 for check-in on January 6th. Attendance is mandatory. Oh, there's a typo there. It's supposed to be attendance is mandatory. And we are very excited to see you on campus. We have a lot of peer mentors here that are going to be welcoming you. I'll be here, all of our other full-time staff's going to be here. So we'll try and get you acclimated to Mankato and our surrounding areas when you're here. A few things to remember to bring to check in after you're in Mankato and you're coming to check in is to remember to bring your passport and your visa and your I-20 that needs to be printed and signed. Few things to do before orientation as you're waiting, to come here. If you received an email that you need to take a placement testing, you can take the test online before you travel. This will minimize how much time you're spending during orientation giving placement testing. So if you receive an email and you have to take placement testing, you can just take it right away. And that just means less things for you to do once you're here. However, otherwise, you can also take it in person during orientation week. We'll have peer mentors take you to the placement testing sessions, and you'll be able to take placement testing, whether it's English or math or both, depending on your requirements. A few other things to do before orientation is to pay your health insurance. I know I've said it enough times during this webinar today, and I'm going to say it one more time. It's valid for 12 months, so you are paying your health insurance every year. So these are funds that you have to remember to set aside. And you can either prepay it before you get here on e-services, or you can pay them during orientation in person as well. All right. Immunizations. Okay, this is another thing that I've noticed a lot of students forget to bring. We do set up communications about them, but I've noticed that some students do forget to bring them is your immunization records. Make sure you bring records of immunization if you have taken these vaccinations. So Tdap, so that's your tetanus or diphtheria, MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella. Take a picture of it if you want. So you are going to want to bring, if you've already taken these immunizations, you're going to want to bring a record of that with you. We require that you submit these, and then if you haven't taken these vaccinations, then you will be taking those here. But if you already took them, you can talk to your guardian, your family members, and see if they have records of this, so you can bring it with you, because you will need to submit it when you're here. And finally, follow us on social media. A big part of my job is to make sure our social media is up to date. So if you want to follow us on our Instagram, it's KICMNSU, same on TikTok. We try to post as much info about current student life. We try to post a lot of information in terms of what to bring, pre-arrival information, and you're also able to see how students live day to day on campus, which is really nice because then you can kind of prepare yourself. So I would highly recommend that you follow us on our Instagram and TikTok so you are able to kind of get used to what Mankato is like and what Minnesota State Mankato is like, and also stay up to date on all of the information that's relevant to you before you come to the US. I know that was a lot of information, and thank you for being patient after the whole technical difficulties. I don't know why my laptop did that, but hopefully it doesn't do that again. I know that there is a few questions, so I want to make sure I get to those questions. So let me just go back and answer your questions in order. All right. Okay. Um, Okay, so someone asked if we can take insurance from an external provider rather than this one. No, you would have to get the insurance that we are providing you with the United Healthcare, because it is the best cost-wise and also benefits-wise. And so you have to purchase the one that we're providing. Of course, you can get an additional one, but I would just keep the one that we provide. Again, it is required. Um, Someone asked if a person can live all 5 years on campus or only for the first year. You can choose to live on campus just the first semester or like the first year, and you can choose to move out. We've noticed that some students do that because then you get to experience living on campus, and then you also get to experience living off campus. So that is actually a great idea. I wish I had done that, but I wasn't able to. So I would highly recommend doing that if you're able to and if you have the budget to do so, because then, yeah, you'll get the best of both worlds, basically. Great question. Okay, lots of great questions, guys. Good work. Okay, so someone asked, how does an on-campus meal plan work and where can we eat with it? And are there good veg options? So when you purchase a meal plan, you're purchasing a meal plan for the University Dining Center. The University Dining Center is the dining center. It's really massive. There's a lot of food options for students, and the menu changes every day. So you have a variety of things you're able to eat. And then there are some stuff on the menu that kind of stays the same. So that's something to think about. There are different kinds of meal plans you can purchase. So you can either purchase a meal plan where you can go in and out of the university dining any time of the day, as many times as you want. Or you have another one where you can only go in like twice a day. And again, these are going to be different price-wise. So you're really going to want to go on our website. Let me add that into the chat so you can look at what I'm talking about. University Dining Center meal plan. All right. I added the website for meal plan options to our website. It explained the meal plans a lot better than I could, and so I would recommend going there. And I'm also going to add it to our YouTube because I know that we have some people on YouTube as well, and I want to make sure you guys also have that information. All right. And then, yeah, so just remember that there's different options for meal plans depending on what you're looking for and what your price range is. Okay, so another question that somebody asked is about the GPA requirement. So 2.5 for both terms or 2.5 annually. So how does 3.0 annual work? So essentially, sorry, that question confused me a little bit. Basically, what we're looking for is a 3.0 cumulative for 1 year. And then each semester, we're looking for at least a 2.5 GPA. I hope that makes sense. I think we also have some questions on YouTube, so I also want to get to those. So give me a second. Somebody asked if the housing payment covers for both spring and fall semester. Now, I am going to, and then I know somebody else asked about tuition. So let me just go back and share my screen again in terms of what the expenses, estimated expenses look like. And I'll briefly try and talk about it in a way that's understandable and it's not as confusing. So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen again. All right. So, um, insurance. Now, the on-campus housing 9 months is 11,260. So this is for 9 months. So that's the total amount for 9 months. If you want to live on campus in the summer, you're either going to have to pay more if they have availability, or you're going to have to find other living arrangements. Somebody had asked about tuition. So you are billed every semester, which means when you come here in the spring, after you pay your health insurance and you register for your classes, you're billed for spring semester. Once you pay for your spring semester, you'll be able to register at the end of the semester, you'll be able to register for fall classes. And then once you register for fall classes, you're going to get billed for fall and so on and so forth. You're paying for each semester, you're not paying for the whole semester, whole year at once. That's the easiest way I can explain it. So once you're done with paying for your insurance, which is 2,640, you register for your classes and you're going to get billed about 5,766 for the semester, for spring semester. And then this, again, as a first-year international student, you are going to be automatically receiving the International Maverick Scholarship, and you can continue to have that scholarship until you graduate, as long as you continue to maintain the minimum requirements of a 2.5 GPA or a 3.0 cumulative for the entire year. I hope that answers your question, Okemwa. If you did join us late, I would recommend rewatching our recorded session at the end of the on YouTube, because it's going to generate and populate on our YouTube channel as well. But did anybody else have any other questions at all? Somebody had a great question on YouTube, and the question is the health insurance valid for use at any American hospital or only the campus clinics? So this is a pretty So with the health insurance element, when you go to the student health camp, like the clinic on campus, it's going to be a lot cheaper for you. If you're seen by them, you usually don't have to pay because the insurance covers it. If you have to go to a hospital, then depending on the hospital that you went to, your insurance covers an X amount or a percentage of what you owe them. And so it's going to look pretty different. unless, yes, so let me explain it better. So if you're going to the clinic on campus, a lot of times your visits are going to be free of cost. A lot of the medications that you take are also going to be covered with your insurance. If you have to do labs and stuff, sometimes you might have to pay a little bit out of pocket, but usually if you're going to the clinic on campus, a lot of your expenses are covered. A lot of your bills are covered. Now, if you have to go to a hospital outside, your insurance will take that into consideration, and depending on which hospital you went to and if they're in network or not, they will cover X amount of the bills, and then you have to pay the rest out of pocket. So it really depends on what hospital you went to and whether that hospital is in network or out of network with your insurance. And these are all information that we're going to go over once you're here for orientation, but that is also a really good question. Just want to make sure I got everybody's questions, and I think I did. Somebody did ask when the deadline is for fee payment for spring semester. I'm not 100% sure because I don't think that's been updated yet, but most likely it's going to be February. Mid-February, most likely, the spring deadline. Again, they haven't updated it yet fully, so I would check our website if you're able to. But yes, should be February, mid-February, I think. Alrighty, really great questions, you guys. Uh, okay, this I think is the last question I'm going to take today. Will we understand about registration of classes in a webinar or in the orientation? So we're not really going to be going over registration of classes in depth during our webinars, only because everybody has a different program, everybody's a different major, and everybody's requirement is going to look different. And it's also going to look different depending on whether you're a STEM major or non-STEM major, all of that jazz. So we're not really going to be discussing registration of classes a lot, but then when you're here during orientation, you'll be meeting with advisors from your department. So whatever department you're with, you're going to meet your advisors, and they'll sit down with you and they'll tell you what classes would be best to register for and things like that. So I would wait until orientation for all of that information. That's usually the best time. I hope this answers your question. All right. I think that is all I had for today. Thank you for joining me and for participating and asking so many good questions. These are all really important questions, and I'm very happy that you guys are asking them now, because then it makes life easier for you. And we're also able to give you these informations before you come here. Again, like I said, you can follow us on our social media. That's usually the best way to stay connected and stay up to date with us. We have a lot more webinars coming up. So please do sign up for those and please join us. It's usually going to be me and Alyssa, or sometimes it's just going to be me. But again, I love meeting you guys and talking to you guys. If you guys have questions, you can always email me. My email is listed on our website. Or again, the best way to reach out to us is on our social media platforms. And it was really nice to meet you all. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, night, afternoon, wherever you are. And I'll